back to 24 minutes of Not A24, the podcast that takes a look at movies outside of the A24 library, literally 24 minutes at a time. I am Ethan Simmy.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we're putting the pedal to the fucking metal as we talk about Michael Mann's newest film, Ferrari.
Vroom, vroom, baby.
Vroom, vroom.
I'm excited. Set in the summer of 1957 with Enzo Ferrari's auto empire in crisis, the ex-racer turned entrepreneur pushes himself and his drivers to the edge as they launch into the Mille. How do you say this?
Mille? I don't know. That sounds...
Mille?
I think the G is silent. Like it just, Mille.
Okay.
Pretty close.
Mille, a treacherous 1,000-mile race across Italy. Ferrari, directed by Michael Mann. Newest Michael Mann movie. Michael Mann is 80 years old, just making movies about fast cars, which is pretty sick. As you can tell, I don't have a hint of Italian in me. You got any Italian roots?
No, not that I know of. No, I'm pretty everywhere else in Europe, but not Italy. It's for sure.
Sure, not secret Italian. We're going to dive into Ferrari. We have 22 and a half minutes to do so. But, of course, listeners of the Patreon know this is the final Patreon episode. This is it. The end of times. We've crossed the finish line, as one might say. How you feeling?
Oh, finger guns for that? Come on. I thought for sure you were going to pull the finger guns for that.
I thought that was pretty highbrow, honestly. I thought it was better than finger guns.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. I think you can have highbrow and finger guns. I think they're not mutually exclusive, you know? It's a bittersweet feeling. Like this has been a lot of fun to do. Obviously like kicking it off as we did with Mission Impossible was just an absolute blast that we got into a lot of fun categories. But I think as people know, we're kind of shifting gears.
Whoa, that's a finger guns.
That's a finger guns for sure. Kind of focusing on the movie draft podcast along with continuing 24 minutes of A24. Mm-hmm. And right now, if you're listening to this currently, we're covering all the Oscar stuff. So it still gives us a little bit of a taste of being outside the A24 family, but this has been super fun. I was telling you off mic or off the recording, I don't know what to do with all this hot sauce now that we bought for all the patrons that we're going to sign up. So maybe we'll figure out a way to utilize that later on. Maybe there's some punishment for losing a draft or something. Who knows? We'll figure it out. But yeah, bittersweet, but excited for what lies ahead of us.
Yeah, hard agree. Bittersweet for sure. This has been a blast. I mean, we created this Patreon to talk about Mission Impossible. That's it, because it was my first time going through Mission Impossible. And I have very good memories about like making podcasts about Mission Impossible. Dead Reckoning Part 1 was my first MI movie in theaters. And like, I remember seeing these movies and just completely losing my mind at certain parts and just like you getting to witness the
great
magic that is Tom Cruise.
We all loved it.
It was great. It was so much fun. But we're here to talk about Ferrari. We're going to end the series with a brand new movie starring Adam Driver, Penelope Cruz, Shailene Woodley? I don't know. I don't have the cast list up. Woodley?
Yeah.
And Patrick Dempsey's in this movie. What'd you think of Patrick Dempsey's silver hair?
Silver fox, man. But I show my cards here. One of the couple of people that felt really out of place in this movie to me, like he looked good. He is who he is, but it's just like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, for sure. I will say after he showed up in this movie, I was like, oh, now I understand why he was voted the sexiest man alive last year.
Yeah,
because he's got it. He's done it. What do you think of Ferrari, man?
I'm pro. I had a good time.
Oh, pro Ferrari.
Yeah, I sent you. Wait, we're talking about the movie or the car?
Whatever you want to associate with Ferrari, go for it.
I'm indifferent on the car. Like I'm very much like a car is a utility to get me from one thing to another.
Oh yeah.
So people talk about like, oh, it's
Mega.
got the V12. Like I have my favorite car. It's a black Jeep Grand Cherokee. That's my dream car. I had a little midlife crisis and I got one. But even then people like, oh, did you get the, whatever? Like, I don't know, man. I just it was pretty. I liked it. And I was like, yeah, I like this car. It's great. I don't know anything about them. That's my extent of car knowledge. But as far as this movie goes, I really liked it. I thought it was really well done. It's Michael Mann. I think it's one of the better things that he's done recently.
Oh,
Adam Driver was awesome. I thought he was really, really good. I I don't know who in their right mind ever cheats on Penelope Cruz. That's just like crazy.
Fucking psychotic.
I don't understand that at all. Like that.
I have no idea.
That's a storyline I'll never understand. But yeah, I don't know. It was also, I sent you a picture as I was going into the movie. I literally had the entire theater to myself.
Yes.
Which was awesome for me. Maybe not great for the state of cinema, or at least Michael Mann cinema, you know, that like no one else was there on a Thursday night to see this movie. But I had a great time because I just like, it was fantastic. I took up 3 seats. I was just like, whatever, I'm here by myself. But I really enjoyed it. I was pretty captivated the whole time. There were certain scenes that floored me, you know, I was just like, oh shit. Like, and the way that they were done was just like, they kind of didn't necessarily pull the rug out from under you, but kind of gave you this false idea of, you know, I mean, just to talk about it specifically, of what the car accidents would look like. Yeah. You know, because the first one is just more of like a spin out. I mean, there's a super gnarly one, obviously, when the first driver. Yeah. I mean, we're just going to get into it.
It's a big one. Yes. But full spoilers for sure.
Where he dies, and that's huge. But then the other ones after that are just kind of like a spin out into the grass, or like slowly running into these rocks and stuff. And like, it feels like it comes down a little bit. Like, okay, so not every accident is horrific. But then you get like,
a little different.
One of the gnarliest scenes. Like, it was,
I was shocked.
Crazy.
I was shocked.
It was this mix of like, my thought process throughout the whole thing was like, oh man, that's not really good CGI. Holy fuck, you know, like it was just, it was kind of like that. It was just like, oh wow, all right, that's intense. But overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. It's something that we've talked about on the other pod, like with Oppenheimer, that I feel this is kind of like the Steve Jobs type biopic, where it's just like, let's pick a thing and focus on it. Let's not necessarily focus on Enzo Ferrari when he was 20. Like, we get a little clip of that at the very beginning, but we're not going to watch the entire build up. We're just going to spend essentially 1 year with him, not even the full year. And we're just going to do this one part. I'm like, that's the kind of biopic I like, where it's like, yeah, a pivotal moment in this person's life. Show me that. I don't necessarily care how they became what they did. I just want to know what they're doing with it now. So yeah, I had a really good time with it.
I'm really happy for you. I'm very, very happy for you. More specifically, I'm very happy about your theatrical experience, because that's just plagued you for so long. I hope this is the first of many good theatrical experiences.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed for sure. I like this movie. I didn't love this movie. I think I actually know, and because I've seen it, or I saw it basically like a week and a half ago now. I know that when I watch this movie again in 2 years, and then again in 2 years after that, it'll become one of the best Michael Mann movies. It'll become one of the most interesting, intriguing, fascinating Adam Driver performances. I think it'll unlock a lot over time. My initial reception of it was kind of lukewarm. I thought Driver was really good. Like you said, I thought the VFX were very bad. And I thought, at least in my theater experience, the sound mixing was very strange. There was certain parts. So I don't know if that was a Michael Mann choice or not. So I think there's some technical speed bumps that
this is the finger guns episode. This is take a shot every time we do finger guns, you guys.
Oh, please don't. Please don't. You'll black out. So I think there's some technical problems for me, but the more I think about it, the more I talk about it, the more I listen to podcasts about it or articles about it or whatever, I am like, oh, geez, like that is so peak Michael Mann. That is so good. And you know, I always talk about how Michael Mann movies are basically just about dudes trying to do their job. This is no different. He's just trying to do his job. He's just trying to make Ferrari successful on the racetrack while having to make it commercially successful, while raising a bastard child, having 2 different homes. He's trying to do it all. And what I think is the best part about this movie, and really in context with 2023 and other films and filmmakers like Scorsese and Hayao Miyazaki and these people that are kind of at the ends of their prime and what might be their twilight years of making movies. And you know, in Miyazaki's case, like, was touted as his last film and things like this. I think it's interesting to look at it through that lens because the movie is so adamant and focused on Driver as Enzo and like, what does legacy mean to him? What does success mean to him? What are all these very nuanced key pieces to live a happy life? And I think that obviously directly stems from like Michael Mann being 80. I think that's a really important thought process that Michael Mann is trying to go through right now as well. So I think there's a lot to like about the movie. I also just like went on a Michael Mann bender, and when you stack Ferrari against like Heat or The Insider or Thief, they're just in different categories. At least right now they are for me. So it's a tough draw for Ferrari. Loud cars in a movie theater is always a cool thing though.
Always a lot of fun. You were recently on another podcast, Film Fragments, I believe, right?
Yep, I was.
Talking about Michael Mann. I'm curious, did this make your top 5?
No, it did not.
Okay.
It was on the bumper though. It was close. It was number 6. But that's only
car bumper.
Unintentional.
People think we're going to pump the brakes and we're not. We're going full steam ahead.
That's only because, contrary maybe to popular belief or how I tout it, I've only seen 7 Michael Mann movies. So for 6, not ideal, but still close to the 5.
Pretty good. I have a question. I think we both agree Adam Driver was really good in this.
Very good, yes.
But how do you feel about casting someone that's like 20 years younger than the character is supposed to be? Because they didn't really fall back on a lot of flashbacks. You know, like obviously it worked when they did because then he could be his actual age and it looked great. But we spent 90% of the movie with him, you know, with a receding hairline, makeup, stuff like that. Like, would it have been better to cast a 55-year-old in this role rather than someone who's like not even 40 yet? Do you think? Like, I don't know.
I think that's pretty tough because I think Adam Driver brings like a specificity of his physicality and like his kind of more brooding nature that I'm not sure you can replicate with someone that is actually 20 years older. Yeah. And I don't know like who that would be. Like, who do you get that's like 55 to 60 right now to play this role with such great depth? And you have these sparks of moments where he does very much like bring the energy very much up, and he does have these powerful sequences. So I don't know if you can have that range as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point. I have no idea. Like my initial thought, it's not a good one, but it's like, oh, Tucci or something like that, you know. But I just don't know if he, like you said, has the power or the gravity that Adam Driver just brings to every single role. It's hard to compete with that.
I also want to bring up quickly the Adam Driver, Michael Mann situation, because if Adam Driver being in Ferrari is what makes Heat 2 great, then I want that. I want that 100% of the time, because word on the street is that Driver and Mann have a great personal and working relationship because of this film. They really connected with each other, and Adam Driver's being eyed or essentially, you know, pretty much confirmed to be playing a young Neil McCauley for Heat 2. So I'm excited about that. And I like Mann and Driver together. I think they work very, very well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we all had to sit through Gangs of New York for Leo to work with Scorsese, but then it turned into some fantastic movies after that. So like, if we have to put up with Gangs of New York in order to get, you know, Departed and Aviator, all this other stuff, then yeah, let's do it.
The last thing I want to mention before we do our true cinema, probably as fast as we can to beat our timer here. This movie falls specifically into a very hyper niche segment of films that are only 2 that I can think of. If you can think of a third off the top of your head, let me know. But it's this and House of Gucci, and they basically fall under the same category of Adam Driver playing an Italian who's trying to run a commercial conglomerate and ends up cheating on his really hot partner and banging them on a table. Right? I mean,
pretty specific, but
shout out to Adam Driver for getting it done. Because like incredible stuff. I mean, you got Penelope Cruz in this movie, Lady Gaga in House of Gucci, but pretty specific.
Very, very specific. I'm curious what other entries could fall into that at any point. Maybe if he does like the Pirelli tires or something like that story at some point, who knows?
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
I think he needs to keep with it though, because that's what I like to see on the big screen.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Do you want to go first with True Cinema?
Sure, I'd love to. is, one of the best moments of the movie, in my opinion. I imagine you probably have this on your list, but it's that test lap while all the people are in church.
Fucking sick. Yeah, that was my first one too.
Right?
We'll just share it. Yeah, I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to not put that on my list.
No, I've like, if he says it, I'm just going to say that's my, like, it has to be because it was such a cool scene. It's so well done. All the guys checking their stopwatches as they hear the gun go off. You can tell from their reactions that their time has been beat and they just have to like deal with that and move on. And, I think he just says like, we'll just go faster, that's his response to it. But just the subtle way that all these guys are checking their stopwatches in the middle of this like church program that's happening. But cutting that back and forth with the actual race is so well done. Like a lot of the race footage was awesome in this movie. Yeah. So, and this was no exception of just like the literal juxtaposition of driving 100 something miles an hour versus sitting in a church pew and just going back and forth. It was so good. I
think beyond maybe Scorsese, I don't know who else could make this scene be that electric. Like, I don't know who else could convey, like, hey, it's actually cooler to watch a bunch of old Italian white guys check their stopwatches than it is to watch fast cars go around a race course.
Yeah.
Which is
you're
like so
excited for both. Like, you're like, yeah.
It's so sublime, really fantastic. That's why I said, like, I think this will age very well because there are sequences like that where you're just like, that's fucking Michael Mann. Like, he gets it. He understands and he can tell that story. Number two, so that was my number one as well. So number 2, I'll put on here, is actually kind of similar in the fact where it's like very core Michael Mann, but it is the moment where Ferrari basically speaks to his team and is like, hey, this is how things are going to go, right? This is obviously part of this is like from the trailer of, these two objects can't occupy the same space and moment in time. And essentially like, listen, when you're out on the race course, you're not going to hit the brake. You're not going to think about what other racers think about you. You will do things my way and you will win because you do them my way. I think is really the peak of like Mann saying this guy's got to get his job done. He's got to do it successfully and he will do it successfully. And that I think is where Driver is at his best, is when he conveys those really overbearing responsibilities of how he has to be Ferrari.
Yeah. No, I mean, the speech is so well done, just capping it on like, make them make the mistake. Like you made the mistake this time.
When you're going around the corner.
Yeah. Make them make the mistake and it pays off. Like we see that. Yeah, it's great. My next one kind of goes along with that, where it really speaks to how calculated he is and how good of a motivator he is. Then mine is just like the starting point pep talks he was giving everybody as they take off on the race, because he does such a good job of just like, this car can win. It's not the fastest car, but you can still win this. Once you're over the mountain, you've got it, take it. Then he goes to the next guy. He's like, all right, so you're actually going to win. What you're going to do, and he's like giving all these people these pep talks. And then the other one's like, okay, stay behind, stay with them. You could take it at the end once we approach Bologna, but just stay in the back of the pack. And it's just so interesting. We see his calculations throughout the whole movie, the way that he deals with like the press, the way he talks about, he tells the new driver, like, you can't bring any actresses because I need the photographers taking pictures of my car, not your date. It's just all this stuff like, oh man, he is always on. He's always on. He's very calculated. And for me, just those pep talks as they take off of the race was one of my favorite moments of that happening in the movie.
Yeah. I really like that as well. And that kind of dovetails like into my third moment, which is like kind of like cheating, but I couldn't stop myself from being in awe when I was watching this in the theater. And you kind of mentioned it earlier, is just all of the like scenes of them racing through the mountains are just gorgeous. They're just gorgeous. Like, I was just like, this is a sick movie. This is awesome. We're just like racing fast cars through gorgeous landscapes. And I don't know what else I would want to be watching right now. I thought it was beautiful, wonderfully scored. And there were some really cool shots, one in specific of these cars coming around a curve where we have a very low angle and a kind of a depth of field that we're watching, and they come in and out of that so quickly that it just captures the ferocity of the race being a 1,000-mile race. Like, this is happening at every turn, and I think Michael Mann captures it beautifully. I know it takes place kind of over the course of the last 25 minutes of the film, but anytime we got a shot like that, I was just like very, very happy.
Yeah, this movie is so cinematic. I think anyone that sees it will appreciate what Michael Mann captures. Some beautiful stuff. My last scene is the opera itself that they attend, and just the flashbacks that we get throughout that scene of all of our main characters, you know, both Penelope Cruz, Adam Driver, and Shailene Woodley, and their connections to this music that they're listening to.
Right.
You know, with Penelope Cruz, it's, you know, going
really
back to,
heartbreaking for Enzo Ferrari.
Right. Yeah.
Really devastating.
I just thought, man, this works so well. I don't speak Italian, so I had no idea what they were talking about in the opera, but like just the tone of it and the passion behind it, and seeing how these people are reacting to it. It's like, oh, this is like very sad and very touching. And I just thought that was super powerful. Yeah,
I agree. And another reason I think this will age very, very well for me. And I think each subsequent time I watch it, I'm going to like it even more. Of course, Michael Mann does a really good job of making Ferraris look really fucking cool, even though they already are really fucking cool. And so shout out to that. And I think there's just some really, really great moments in this movie, even though it might not have kind of worked together as a whole project for me on this watch.
Can we talk briefly, just really, really quick?
Yeah.
I feel like we don't ever really see Ferrari in a Ferrari, but he's always in the smallest cars. And Adam Driver is such a big man, and he drives all these small cars, or he's in that like little truck flatbed thing. You know, it's like, man, why can't we get this? I know it's Italy back in the 50s and they just have small cars, but this is such a big man.
It's such a great opening to the film too. Watching him leave his, not mistresses, but his secondary lover, whatever we want to call her, leaving her house and pushing his car out of the driveway so as not to startle any of them.
Teenager sneaking out.
Right. And like this really smart juxtaposition of like, we have a quiet car right now. We're going to have loud cars later.
Yeah.
And I think it's really smart and really fun. Would this fit into the A24 catalog? That's a good question. I don't know.
I think it's more of a good question because we don't know what the A24 catalog is anymore. Like the way it's changing so much. Like, you know, there's like, we want franchises, we want all this stuff. So I don't know. It could be
A24 biopics. We haven't really gotten a lot.
No,
at least in cinema. We've gotten documentaries. We have the Val Kilmer documentary.
Priscilla recently, Iron Claw. So maybe
Priscilla, the Iron Claw. Okay, we are going in that direction. Maybe Ferrari qualifies.
Yeah, who knows?
I don't know. My A24 can never afford Michael Mann. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah, that's true.
They could never do it. Any final thoughts on Ferrari that you want to get out before I close this out?
Check it out, or just wait when it's on TNT in a year and just place on a loop forever.
Oh my God. Well, that's the thing. This is the perfect rewatchable film because if you catch it on cable, whatever part you see is almost guaranteed to draw you in for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't wait. This is the end of the Patriot Pod. Been a pleasure, Ben.
Same here.
Can't believe it. We crossed the finish line. You can find us on our new podcast, the Movie Draft Podcast, starting on January 16th with our good friend Sophie Holsinger. We're going to be drafting movies. So we're talking about a lot of other movies outside of the A24 catalog. Every single Patreon episode is going to be now public on YouTube on a playlist. Go check it out.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm not worried about going over time because there's no punishment for the next one. So
who fucking cares?
Who cares? We make the rules here. Let us know what you guys thought about Ferrari. Let us know what you guys thought about the Patreon pod. Did you enjoy it? Do you want us to keep, covering some of these non-A24s? Then if you like that, go check us out talking about the Oscars right now. And also, check out the Movie Draft Podcast. We are on Twitter and Instagram at 24 minutes of A24. You can also find us on YouTube, where eventually you'll probably see some of these Patreon episodes show up. Yeah. So that'll be kind of cool. But yeah, thanks so much for supporting us on the Patreon. We really appreciate it. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I am Ethan Simi. Two objects cannot occupy the same point in space at the same moment in time.
Facts.
I was not going to try my Italian accent.